Captain. Before we step onto this dull and drilling island, tell me, what does boring make you feel when it means not interesting, making someone feel tired because nothing exciting is happening, and the act of making a deep hole in something? Meaning 1. Not interesting, dull, not enjoyable. Used for something that does not hold attention or excitement. Example: the lecture felt boring because it had no stories or examples. Common use: boring lesson, boring book, boring job. Boring lesson. Meaning 2. Causing tiredness or the loss of energy because nothing engaging is happening. Used when an activity, talk, or moment makes people mentally tired through lack of interest. Example: the meeting was so boring that several people stopped listening. Common use: boring meeting, boring talk, get bored by something boring. Boring meeting. Meaning 3. The act of making a deep hole in wood, metal, earth, or another material. Used in technical or work contexts for drilling or cutting into something. Example: the workers finished the boring before placing the support post. Common use: boring tool, boring machine, boring into the ground. Boring depth. Boring is most common as an adjective meaning dull or not interesting. It can describe things that fail to hold attention and make people feel mentally tired. In technical contexts, however, boring can also be a noun or adjective related to drilling and making deep holes. Stay awake to meaning, Captain. Carry boring for what fails to spark the mind, for the draining dullness that slows attention, and for the deep-cutting work that opens space in solid material as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this joy and meaning island, tell me, what does celebrate make you feel when it means to do something special for a happy event, to honor an important day or achievement, and to speak positively about someone or something with admiration? Meaning 1. To do something special for a happy event. Used when people mark a joyful occasion with food, music, gathering, or fun activities. Example: they gathered on the deck to celebrate the safe return of the crew. Common use: celebrate a birthday, celebrate with friends, celebrate together. Celebrate together. Meaning 2. To honor an important day, moment, or achievement. Used when people show respect or joy for a special date, success, or meaningful milestone. Example: the island community came together to celebrate the 100th year of the lighthouse. Common use: celebrate an anniversary, celebrate success, celebrate a victory. Celebrate this year. Meaning 3. To praise or speak with admiration about someone or something. Used when people openly value, admire, or highlight the beauty, importance, or success of a person, idea, or culture. Example: the festival celebrates local music, food, and sea traditions. Common use: celebrate culture, celebrate talent, celebrate beauty. Celebrate culture. Celebrate usually means doing something joyful for a special event, but it also often means honoring an important date, success, or milestone. In a wider sense, it can mean praising or valuing something publicly, such as culture, talent, or identity. Mark every meaningful moment with heart, Captain. Carry celebrate for the joy of sharing happy events, for honouring the milestones that shape a journey, and for proudly valuing the people and traditions that make life shine as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this choice and possibility island, tell me, what does candidate make you feel when it means a person trying to get a job or position, a person being considered as a possible choice, and a person who is taking an exam or test? Meaning 1. A person trying to get a job, role, or official position. Used for someone who applies for or competes for a role, office, or opportunity. Example: she was the strongest candidate for the harbour manager position. Common use: job candidate, presidential candidate, candidate for a position. Top candidate. Meaning 2. A person or thing being considered as a possible choice. Used more generally for someone or something that seems suitable for selection. Example: this quiet bay is a good candidate for the new lighthouse. Common use: good candidate, likely candidate, candidate for selection. Best candidate. Meaning 3. A person who is taking an exam or test. Used for someone sitting an examination or being assessed officially. Example: each candidate had to write the answer clearly and calmly. Common use: exam candidate, test candidate, candidates for the exam. Exam candidate. Candidate often means a person who wants a job, role, or official position, but it can also mean any person or thing being seriously considered as a possible choice. In academic and formal contexts, it is also commonly used for a person taking an exam. Choose with care and step forward with courage, Captain. Carry candidate for the person seeking a role, for the option that stands out among many, and for the test taker proving readiness as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this tie and direction island, tell me, what does bound make you feel when it means tied or fastened tightly, certain or very likely to happen, and travelling toward a place? Meaning 1. Tied, fastened, or held tightly. Used for something that is tied up, secured, or strongly held together. Example: the packages were bound with thick rope for the rough journey. Common use, bound with rope, tightly bound, hand-bound book. Bound with rope, meaning to, certain, very likely, or sure to happen. Used when something will probably happen because the signs are strong. Example, with dark clouds that heavy, rain was bound to come soon. Common use, bound to happen, bound to win, bound to change. Bound to rain, meaning 3, travelling toward a place. Used to show the destination of a person, ship, train, or journey. Example, the small vessel was bound for the northern island by dawn. Common use, bound for home, bound for port, island bound. Bound for island. Bound can describe something physically tied, something that is very likely to happen, or movement toward a destination. These meanings may seem different at first, but they all carry a sense of strong connection, tied together, tied to an outcome, or tied to a destination. Hold steady to rope, to outcome, and to direction, Captain. Carry bound for what is tightly fastened, for what is almost certain to come, and for the journey moving with purpose toward its next shore as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this tie and duty island, tell me, what does bind make you feel when it means to tie something tightly, to join pages or materials together, and to place someone under a strong duty, rule, or agreement? Meaning 1, to tie, fasten, or hold something tightly together. Used when rope, cloth, or another material is wrapped around something to keep it secure. Example, they used thick rope to bind the cargo before the storm. Common use, bind with rope, bind tightly, bind the wound. Bind the load, meaning 2, to join pages, papers, or materials together into one whole. Used for making books, reports, or materials into a single connected form. Example, they will bind the pages into a small sea journal. Common use, bind a book, bind pages together, leather-bound volume. Bind these pages, meaning 3, to place someone under a duty, promise, or rule. Used when an agreement, law, or promise strongly requires someone to act in a certain way. Example, the written promise will bind both sides to the same rules. Common use, bind by law, bind by agreement, legally binding. Bind by agreement. Bind often means tying something tightly, but it can also mean joining pages or materials into one finished form. In more formal contexts, it can describe a rule, promise, or agreement that places someone under an obligation. Hold tight to purpose and promise, Captain. Carry bind for the ropes that secure what matters, for the hands that join loose parts into one whole, and for the duties that connect people through trust and agreement as we sail to the next island.